Hi everyone, it's Nick with Build Up Advisory Group, and it's Fastball Fridays, a web series where we will quickly build what you know about infrastructure design in the nonprofit sector. Today's Fastball topic is transitioning from concept to public charity. I've been getting a lot of questions about forming charities from people with amazing social impact ideas and from nonprofit organizations and groups that are already up and running, maybe housed within a fiscal sponsor, for example, and thinking of transitioning. I'm really happy to see organizations stepping into this stage of development. If you've talked with us before about becoming a charity, you know that we don't simply say yes and start you on that process. And that's why I want to talk about two key considerations for transitioning to public charity status. I'll share the first of these two considerations now. The first consideration, and this is critical, is to determine if you should in fact be a charitable entity. Now, if you're being fiscally sponsored, then it's probably an easier conversation to have because you likely have determined that you should be one because you've had some space to test out whether or not you should be a charitable entity. Still, even in that context, there may be some charitability or entity questions for your team to consider if you've been thinking about social impact activities you may not have been able to pursue because they weren't squarely defined as charitable. And if you're going from concept phase to public charity phase, then you want to consider whether what you're doing has social impact and may have charitable aspects, but may not be fully in the public charity sphere. And I want to make a point here that just because you don't fit squarely into a charitable designation, so to speak, doesn't mean that you don't do charitable things or that your organization won't be able to receive funding from those looking to fund public charities. There's ways to do all of that, including setting up your own ecosystem of entities and vehicles or partnerships with others to conduct those charitable activities. This is the area where I really do push my clients to think about if in fact they want to be public charities and take on all that status entails. Or do they just want to do good? And some of that good may involve charitable activities, but they don't necessarily want to be a charity. Having this conversation with your team is critical. If you skip this step and go straight to assuming you should be a charity simply because you want to have social impact, you lose out on a lot of the vision and mission setting that's critical for building infrastructure and will likely be in an inappropriate entity, both of which will ultimately have an impact within the communities you serve. How you transition to become a public charity is not just a process. It's also an opportunity to examine your purpose, your intent, and your expectations. I want to make sure that when we think about creating these entities, that we're doing more than just deciding to legally form them. Taking the time and having the patience to put all of this together in a meaningful way, including the type of entity you'll use to do your work, is how you start building out a strong infrastructure and framework for your organization. And that's our fast build. On our next Fastball Friday, we'll talk about the second key consideration for transitioning to public charity status. I want to hear how you are thinking about this public charity transition. I would love to hear from you and about your experience in the comments below. And if you're finding these Fastball Fridays helpful or informative, I would love it if you would like this video and hit subscribe. Thanks for watching, have a wonderful weekend, and keep building bravely.